welcome back to my channel. My name is Darian and today I'm going to be talking about some summer book recommendations. So actually the day I'm filming this is the first day of summer, which I did not plan it this way, but it worked out pretty well. But it does not look very summery outside. It is very overcast and rainy, which I mean, I love that type of weather, but I put on like a summer dress to kind of bring about the summer vibes, I don't know. But today I'm going to be talking about a lot of books. I kind of maybe picked too many books to recommend to you guys to pick up this summer. Some of them are like very obviously summer reads and other ones I just think are great reads to read during the summertime. So there we go. But before we get started, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is Two Tony Productions, in honor of the release of the book Focus Puller by Daniel Hess. So this is Daniel Hess's debut novel and it offers an insight into one man's life over a span of decades as he faces questions about life, family, relationships, sexuality, commitment, health, well-being, and the choices that we all make. The non-linear and flashback sequence highlights the value in the seemingly small experiences of life and also reflects the imperfect nature of life experience. The book invites readers to think about their own lives, whether the oftentimes observations of others through a lens is ever applied to the self and our own journey and life experiences. And I know this novel is a very personal novel for Daniel. He is a writer and filmmaker also, which obviously appeals to me because I love film and I studied film. If you guys want to pick this book up, it is available now, and this is definitely something that I would love to get to during the summertime. Although the content doesn't seem very summery, I think this is the kind of story that I would love to get lost in during the summertime when I have more time to read. So thank you so much to Two Tony Productions and to Daniel for sponsoring today's video. So now let's get on to the recommendations. I feel like the first one should be no surprise to anyone. This is a book I read very recently and it just screams summer to me, and that is The Romantic Agenda by Claire Kahn. And as you can see, she's out on a lake, and what better time to read about a book set on a lake than in the summer, you know? So this follows 30-year-old Joy, who is a proud asexual woman, and she's been in love with her best friend Malcolm for the past 10 years. But Malcolm either does not reciprocate his feelings or has no idea that Joy is in love with him, and they have a very codependent relationship. Malcolm has always just assumed that Joy will be there for him, and because she is so in love with him, she feels like she does need to be there for him all the time. And because of their very close relationship, it has kind of gotten in the way of Malcolm's romantic relationships with his partners because they always feel threatened by Joy. And one day Malcolm asks Joy to help him out because he is planning a weekend getaway with the woman that he is interested in, but this woman has also invited her best friend because it's his birthday that weekend and she doesn't want to ditch him, and she does not really realize that this is intended to be a romantic weekend. So Malcolm asks Joy to accompany them so that she can keep this woman's best friend busy, his name is Fox, and he can have time alone with the woman he's interested in. But then there may be a romance brewing between Joy and Fox, and oh my god, I love this book so much. First of all, the asexual representation in this book, I loved it so much. I've never read a romance with an openly asexual main character, and that was just so like validating to see because, you know, us asexual people deserve romances if that's what we want, and it just made me so happy. And this was the perfect book to read during the summertime. You could read it by the lake because it's obviously set by the lake, or if you're just stuck in your house and you're not able to travel anywhere, then you can transport yourself on this weekend getaway, and it's just great. I love this book so much. I'm gonna push it onto people because I worry not a lot of people will pick it up because it's not like your traditional adult romance. There's no smut scenes in this book, so I worry for that reason people won't pick it up, but please read it. I love it so much and it's one of my favorite books of this year, and definitely read it during the summertime in my opinion. Next we have an extremely obvious recommendation. Like, I feel like everyone probably recommends this book during the summertime, but I'm just gonna do it also, and that's The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I read this a couple years ago now, and this book has still stuck with me. It's still one of my favorite romances. It was actually the first book that I read by Christina Lauren, and it's still my favorite. I think, actually, how many? I might have only read 2 books by them. But anyways, out of the 2 books I read, it is still my favorite. It follows Olive and Ethan, and Olive's sister is getting married to Ethan's brother, and Olive has never really liked Ethan for a certain reason. They don't get along very well, and after the wedding, everyone ends up getting sick because of food poisoning, except for Olive and Ethan because one of them is allergic to shellfish, which is what was being served at the wedding, and the other one just doesn't like eating from buffets. So they're the only two people who didn't get sick. So because of that, Olive's sister asks both of them if they can go on their honeymoon for them because it's non-refundable. And also Olive's sister won the honeymoon in a contest and they're identical twins. So she asks Olive to kind of take on her persona to go on this honeymoon, and then Ethan goes with her because the groom obviously can't go, and as you would expect, they fall in love basically. And first of all, like, this cover just screams summer. They end up going to, I think it's Hawaii. Yeah, they go to Maui, and the summer vibes are just immaculate in this book. I think the majority of the book takes place while they're on vacation, and it just screams summer to me. Like, I don't know how else to get you to read this book during the summertime except for you to just look at this cover. And the romance is also just so sweet. I loved Olive and Ethan so much, and I can't remember exactly what the third act breakup is, you know, that happens in every romance, but I do remember feeling like it was handled very well, and it wasn't just because of like miscommunication reasons. I think that's what happens, but don't hold me to that. But anyways, this is a very cute romance and definitely a great summer read. Okay, I realize the next two books are also books that are kind of obvious to read in the summer, but whatever. So the next one is Summer of Salt by Katrina Leno. Obviously summer is in the title, and I feel like this book doesn't look very summery. I mean, obviously they're sitting on the beach, but like the cover doesn't scream summer to me, but like the title suggests, it does take place in summer. You're following this girl named, I want to say Georgina. You're following Georgina, and she also has a twin. Wow. A lot of twins in this, but she also has a twin sister, and the women in Georgina's family have all kind of received these magical powers, and they have always gotten them by the time they turn 18. And at the end of this summer, Georgina and her sister are turning 18, but her sister got her power right after she was born, and Georgina still hasn't gotten her power yet, so she's feeling stressed about that. She's also feeling stressed about going away to college at the end of the summer because she has never left the island that her and her sister were born on, called, I think it's called By the Sea, yeah, so it's obviously by the sea. And like the vibes in this book also scream summer because it takes place in this coastal town, and every summer this town becomes a tourist attraction because this very rare bird always appears in this town during the summertime, and so avid bird watchers come to this town every summer to see this bird. And this book, like, it just kind of has it all. It has beautiful writing, it has an air of mystery to it. It also can get pretty sad. There are trigger warnings in this book for SA, for animal abuse, so just keep that in mind before you go into it. I just loved, again, the vibes in this book just scream summer to me. And I love Georgina as a character. There's also a sapphic romance in this book, which is very beautiful to see, and this is one of my favorite books, and I have been dying to reread it, so maybe this summer I will. Who knows? You can't stop me. But yeah, again, another great summer read. Okay, another book where summer is literally in the title, but that is Summer Bird Blue by Kimmy Dawn Bowman. I actually finished this book last night and I was sobbing. You'll see my vlog soon. It will be up after this video comes out, but I was sobbing reading this book. So this book follows this girl named Rumi, and it also follows sisters. There's a lot of sisters in these books, but it follows Rumi, and her sister have always been very close, and all Rumi wants in life is to just spend the rest of her life writing music with her sister. Okay, I had to change my battery, so sorry if the angle is a bit off, but yeah, Rumi is very close with her sister, but then her sister tragically dies in a car accident, and Rumi just feels so lost because her sister was just everything to her, and her mother has a very, very hard time dealing with her own grief, so she sends Rumi to Hawaii. Another Hawaii book. These books, maybe they all connect. This is my multiverse of madness. But Rumi goes to Hawaii to stay with her aunt while her mother tries to grieve, and Rumi feels like she lost both her sister and her mom because she feels kind of abandoned by her mom, and so Rumi spends the summer in Hawaii with her aunt. She also meets a boy named Kai that she becomes really close with, and she also befriends the next door neighbor who is like this 80-year-old man with a very annoying dog, but then of course the dog grows on her, and this was just a very beautiful book, and obviously it takes place during the summertime. This is a very, very sad book, and it deals heavily with Rumi's grief about losing her sister, and the ending of this book just made me sob. Oh my god. This is not a wrap-up though, so I will talk more about this book in my June wrap-up, but this is a book I highly recommend to read during the summertime, especially if you feel like you want to get away somewhere. Obviously Hawaii is a very beautiful location, and I just love how this book spoke about sisterhood and grief, and it just meant a lot to me, honestly. So definitely pick this book up in the summer. I just realized I forgot to mention in Summer Bird blue, the main character is Arrow Ace. I don't know how I forgot to mention that, but that is obviously another thing that we love about that book. Okay, stepping away from the sister Hawaii summer in the title books. Next we have Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon, and I didn't read this book in the summer, but I feel like it would be a great read for the summertime. You're following Maddie, and she has this very rare disease where basically, I can't remember the name of it, but she is essentially allergic to everything, so she has to stay home literally all the time. Like, she cannot leave her house or it could be very deadly. So she obviously feels very sheltered and very lonely. She basically only sees her mom and her caregiver until this boy moves in next door and they start communicating. They get each other's numbers, they start texting, and Maddie kind of starts to dream for the first time for a different life for herself because she has become so used to this life that she currently has, and meeting this boy kind of makes her want to go out into the world, but how is she gonna do that if she's sick? It's just a great read, and at one point they might go to Hawaii. I don't remember where they go. Oh my god, they do go to Hawaii. Oh my god, maybe all these books do connect. That's crazy. But they do go on a trip in this book to Hawaii, so another very summery location. And this book is just such a quick read. Like, some of the chapters in this book are literally like 1 page long, not even. Like, these are some of the chapters that are in this book. So like a paragraph long, some are even sentences. There's also lots of illustrations in this book. So it's a very quick read. I think you could easily read this in one sitting, and so it is a great read to bring with you, like, to the beach or to the pool or whatever, and just sit poolside and read this in one sitting. You can get through it very quickly, and it's just a great story in my opinion, and this is the book that got me out of my like 4 or 5 year long reading slump a few years ago. So this book means a lot to me for that reason, and yeah, I love this book. Next is definitely a very different book. There is no Hawaii, there are no sisters. Well, there might be sisters, but there is no Hawaii in this book, okay? But that is Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. Here you go. Obviously this book is a chunk. It is about 800 pages, I think, but I did read it last summer, and I feel like the summertime is a great time to read this book because during the year, you know, there's a lot of things going on, especially if you're in school. You're always thinking about assignments and exams, and I feel like the summertime you can get a bit of a break. I mean, if you're like me, then I still find things to stress about, but I feel like having that time, like bringing this book on vacation, while it may take up a lot of room in your suitcase, I feel like that's the perfect time to dive into this book because it is obviously a high fantasy and you really want to concentrate while reading it, even though it is definitely way more intimidating than it actually is. Like, I thought I would have a lot of trouble getting into this book and trying to understand everything, but it wasn't that bad. So I feel like this is a great book to read on vacation. I remember once when we were on vacation, my brother was reading The Count of Monte Cristo, and like every day we would go on the beach and like everyone would be like, oh my god, what page are you on now? Everyone was like cheering him on, trying to read that book, and maybe if I had read that book, I would recommend that, but I feel like this is a great book to do that with, and everyone can be like, oh my god, how are you getting on with Priory, you know? I didn't say anything about what this is about, but it's high fantasy, it's sapphic, it is amazing, one of my favorite books of all time, and there's dragons, so what more do you want, honestly? Next we have a middle grade, and that is The Mighty Heart of Sunny St. James by Ashley Herring Blake, and again, this cover just kind of screams summer. You're following Sunny St. James, who recently had a heart transplant, and now with her new heart, she feels like she's starting life over and has a list of things that she wants to complete during the summertime. So the first thing is to do awesome, amazing things she could never do before. The second is to find a new best friend, and the third is to find a boy and kiss him. And she does end up making a new friend, but this is a girl named Sydney, I think. But she meets a girl and they become very close, and Sunny starts to realize maybe she doesn't want to kiss a boy, maybe she wants to kiss a girl. There's a lot of sapphic books. I feel like all these books connect somehow. But this is sapphic, and it is just so sweet and so cute, and seeing Sunny going through this journey of her dealing with her health issues and also just trying to reinvent herself while also still being a kid. Like, I think she's 12, 13, 14, somewhere around that age, and she's obviously going through a lot. She also has an estranged relationship with her mom, and there's just a lot going on in this book, and I thought it was very well done. I love Ashley Herring Blake's writing, and again, I mean, it looks very summery for obvious reasons. This is a summer book, and I feel like it is a middle grade, so you can get through it very quickly, and it is the perfect book to read poolside, beachside, lakeside, in your house, but it's the summertime. You know how it is. I don't know. This is a great book. Pick it up. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry for the amount of books that I have on this list, but we have like 4 or 5 left, so just stick with me here. But the next book is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've only read 2 Taylor Jenkins Reid books, this one and Evelyn Hugo, so I have not read Malibu Rising yet, and obviously that is a very summery book because it takes place on a beach and it follows surfers. So if you're wondering why I'm recommending this instead of that, I have not read that book yet, so that's why. But Daisy Jones and the Six is, again, another one of my favorite books of all time, and I actually much prefer this book to The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. It's not a secret on my channel that that book was not my favorite. I didn't dislike it, but I feel like it's way overhyped. But anyways, in my opinion, this book is much better. Also, the show is coming out, so you should read it this summer to get ready for the show whenever that is. This follows this band from the 70s called Daisy Jones and the Six, and they were like an extremely famous band until their very famous breakup, and no one has ever really known what it was that caused this breakup. But in the present day, the members of the band are giving this like tell-all interview and recounting their years in the band and then what ultimately led them to break up. And this was just such an interesting book. First of all, it's told in like interview format, so it is a very quick read. I've also heard the audiobook for this book is amazing. I read it physically and I still loved it. I still gave it 5 stars. But if you're looking for a quick read and like a really engaging read for the summertime, I would highly recommend this book. Like, once I started it, I never wanted to put it down. I think it took me like 3 days to read this, and that was when I was starting to get back into reading. So I feel like if I read it today, I could easily read this in one day. But I just loved the characters in this book. Although all of them are extremely flawed, they're just very interesting characters to read about, and it definitely just held my attention the whole time I read it, and I think it's just a great book to read during the summertime. So there you go. Next we have The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas, and this book I feel like is very controversial now. Like, when this book first came out, like everyone was obsessed with it, especially on Book Talk, and then the booktubers started reading it and became obsessed with it, and then now I feel like more people dislike it than like it, which makes me really sad because I really like this book. And it follows this girl named Catalina, and she is currently living in New York, but her family is in Spain, and she has to go back home soon to go to her sister's wedding. But because of things that have happened in the past, she really does not want to show up to the wedding without a date. And her coworker, Aaron Blackford, love that man, he offers to escort her to the wedding, and she does not really like him very much. It is kind of enemies to lovers, except he doesn't really dislike her. It's really her that's just annoyed by him. But they do have great banter together, and obviously it leads to their romance. And I feel like this is very summery because they do go to Spain. I mean, they don't go to Spain until like halfway through the book, but you know, the whole beginning of the book is leading up to them going to Spain. And I feel like any book with travel, especially to a place like Spain, just feels very summery to me. So the summer vibes in this one are immaculate in my opinion. I don't know if they go during the summertime, but it doesn't matter. But the romance in this book is just very swoon-worthy, and I love the communication that these two have with each other, and Aaron Blackford is just the perfect man. Where is he? Where is he? I don't know. So yeah, I think this would be a great book to read during the summertime, and it is a thick boy, and romances usually aren't this long, but like Priory, if you are looking for a longer book to read during the summertime, I mean, it's not that long, it's like 500 pages. It's not as bad as Priory, but anyways, read this. It also looks summery, don't you think? And like there's suitcases, and there's a plane, and she's dressed very summery. Okay, so this fits the vibes, okay? Okay, we're almost done. We're almost done. So the next book I have is All the Missing Girls by Megan Miranda. Now, I did read this like 3 years ago now, and this was one of the first mysteries that I read. So at the time, I really liked this book. I don't know if it would hold up to me now that I've read more mystery thrillers. This is also YA, and I know a lot of people don't like YA mysteries. But anyways, if you're looking for a fun summer mystery, I think this would be great. This follows, I don't remember any of the people in this book. So this follows this girl named Nick, and she comes from a very small town, and 10 years ago her best friend went missing and they never found her, and then she ended up moving away from the small town to, I think, like Philadelphia or something, yeah, because she felt like she just needed to get away from it all. But then she ends up returning back to the small town because her father is in bad health, and she comes to like help her brother settle his things, and then another another girl goes missing while she's back in the small town, and it seems like the disappearances of the two girls are connected. So she kind of starts to investigate, and throughout the book we find out about these disappearances. But the very interesting thing about this book is that it's told backwards. So like you start out on like day 15 or something, so it's like 15 days after she has returned back home, and then it goes back, so like the next chapter is day 14. You know, you understand what I'm saying. And I can't remember if the main story of this book takes place in the summer, but you do get flashbacks of the summer when her best friend went missing, and a lot of it, like a lot of that part takes place at like this summer fair that goes on. So for that reason I feel like it's very summery, and also like seeing this fair reminds me of season 3 of Stranger Things, which is like a very summery season, obviously. So I don't know, I think this is just a great mystery to read during the summertime, and it is very quick to read, and I just thought the narrative style of this book was very interesting. Reading it backwards, I thought it would bother me, but it really didn't, and I really like this book. I don't know. Like I said, I did read it like 3 years ago, so I don't know if I would like it as much today, but from what I remember, I really liked it. So here you go. So the last two books I have are also YA, but this is The Mermaid, the Witch, and the Sea by Maggie Takuta Hall, and I did read this last summer, and this definitely felt like a very summery book because a lot of this book takes place on the sea, as you might imagine, but this follows these two people. What are their names? I do not remember. Flora and Evelyn. You're following Flora and Evelyn, and honestly the details of this book have kind of escaped me, but I do remember there is a beautiful romance between them, and I remember, I think it's Flora or Florian, who is gender fluid in this book, which was amazing to see. I feel like I haven't read many books with a gender fluid character. In fact, this might be the only one, but I love seeing that representation. And also a lot of this book focuses heavily on the sea, and the sea is actually kind of like a main character in this book, and I just think this is a great book to read during the summer. Just a great standalone fantasy to get lost in if you're looking for one. There's also mermaids and there's also witches, so if that appeals to you, this is great. My voice is getting tired, so I don't know what else to say. It's a very beautiful book, both in terms of the actual writing and the story, but also the cover is very beautiful. So I think it's a great book to read during the summer. Okay, last but definitely not least, we have You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. Again, this is another book that I did read during the summertime, so that might be why I associate it with summer. But this book follows this girl named, I almost said Leah, but that's the author. This girl named Liz, and Liz, her dream is to go to this like prestigious music school, but she finds out at the beginning of the book that she did not get accepted for a scholarship to go to the school, and her family is struggling with money because she lives with her grandparents since the death of her mom, and also her brother has a lot of health issues which are obviously very expensive, so the only way for her to be able to go to this school is if she gets a scholarship. Then she finds out that the winners of prom king and queen at her school will get a scholarship, so she decides to run for prom queen even though it's not really her thing. But while she's running for prom queen, she meets another girl who is also running for prom queen. Prom queen is so hard to say. Another girl who is also running for prom queen. I think her name's Mac, and then there's a little romance between the two. Another sapphic book. Oh my god. Maybe summer is for the sapphics. We're discovering that today. And it's just a very sweet book, and also like there are some heavier topics. Obviously, you know, since her mom died, and there are some like heavier things going on with her brother. There's also a scene where Liz is outed in this book, which is not fun to read, so keep those in mind before you go into it. It's not like all like sunshine and rainbows, but overall it is just a very sweet book, and the romance is so cute, and I think it's a perfect book to read during the summertime. So those are all my summer book recommendations. I'm sorry there were so many, but I feel like all of these books just emulate summer in one way or another, so I hope you got some good recommendations today. And again, thank you so much to Two Tony Productions for sponsoring this video, and don't forget to pick up your copy of Focus Puller. It is out now, and maybe you should read it during the summer. I'm just saying. But yeah, let me know some of your favorite books to read during the summer. I would love to know. There is a truck going by very slowly. Could you go any slower? Anyways, but that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon with another video soon. Bye!